Hello and welcome to Creature Club, a podcast where three young friends adventure into the realm of a new villain squad.
Copyright strike.
I thought we might add that after, but
Hell yeah.
this is better.
Hello and welcome, as I said, to the latest Creature Club. Today is another villain squad, as Vincent Price let us know.
Thanks, Vincent. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah,
He's actually
thanks.
leaving now. He
is.
All right.
See you
Oh,
later.
he's gone.
All right. Wow, he leaves quite silently.
He's
for a man.
very
He does.
expensive as well.
Incredible
We couldn't
Yeah.
afford him for that much.
Really good of him to, just in the Halloween spirit, return from the grave just to do a quick piece for us.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
he's
a man,
such a character.
honestly.
Yeah, incredible character.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the first one in a very long time where all three of us are recording. So there you go. That's what Halloween does. It really just brings you all together in the spirit of Halloween.
You guys asked for it, I think. I don't know.
Definitely.
I think I asked for it at one point. I said I would love to do an episode with both Dan and Tim.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a Halloween episode.
Yeah.
And a
So
Halloween
did I.
episode too. So this is let me look at the calendar. Yes, it is not Halloween. Halloween's already gone. Sorry, but we try to record it so we can get it out. But whatever.
Yeah.
We don't release episodes on a Thursday, so this is not our fault.
Yeah, it could have either been after Halloween or before Halloween, whatever. It was Halloween, it was spooky, so let's kind of keep the spooky party going and do a bit of a spooky episode. Today we're going to do, what we're doing, guys? Villain Squad, is that the plan?
That's the plan.
That's the plan, all right, cool. Let me say that a bit better. Today we're doing Villain Squad, but a spooky Villain Squad.
A real spooky one.
Guys, what's the plan? What's the plan?
I believe the plan is to use the, as they're called, Universal Monsters, or if you prefer, the Universal Classic Monsters, as the basis for our villain squad this episode to suit the theme of Halloween. So that's your boy Dracula, Mr. Frankenstein's monster, the man...
Dr. Frankenstein.
Dr. Frankenstein's monster. Apologies. I didn't get a doctor called Mr. on a fucking podcast.
Yeah.
The Mummy, obviously, not the... Although, in fairness, actually, the more recent ones would be pretty cool. But that's... I'm getting distracted now. Or, like, maybe even the Invisible Man, the Wolf Man, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, all those bad dudes.
Man.
Yeah.
The greatest villain of all, the greatest monster of all.
Just man, yeah.
Most evil.
All right, yeah, that's cool. I'm up for that. That's a cool idea. Where do we start, though? Should we just start with a vampire? How are we going to do a vampire? Are we just going to do Dracula and plop him into one of our D&D settings? Or are we just going to, make our own special new kind of vampire? What do you guys think?
Well, Dracula is public domain, so you can't use him without getting, like, sued by Disney. Like, Mickey's not going to kick in your door and get you.
That's true, yeah.
Which is nice. But I think we can update Dracula for the modern age.
Yeah.
I think we can update all of them in some ways.
He has a gun now.
Dracula, what about Dracula with a gun? And he says, piss. But only once.
Thank you for listening to Villain Squad, guys. We've done it. We beat the game.
Yep. It's a PG-13 episode where he can only say piss once.
Once.
But yeah, I think if we break down like how they are going to be, and then we can jump into the location, and then we can jump into maybe their broader influences, and then we can talk about like different tiers of how hard we want them to hit. Like if we want them to be for like a lower level campaign or a medium level campaign or like a high level or god tier kind of thing. I think that would be interesting. Or if you want to run a campaign that would run the whole thing, I think we could very easily come up with a concept that could run across whatever you want it to, and it could be good. But I think the first step is establishing who these monsters are, what they are like as for our modern interpretation, and how they interact.
Well, let's do the villain squad thing and start with the first villain, the main head honcho, as we normally try to do. So who's leading this team, guys?
Who's in charge here?
Frankenstein.
Oh my gosh.
Dr. Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster?
Frankenstein's monster. I think Dr. Frankenstein is going to be dead.
Okay.
And Frankenstein's monster is kind of... I'd say that he's an intelligent kind of thing. Maybe he was used as a lab assistant by Dr. Frankenstein, and he like gained all the knowledge and how to do it himself. And he also has this broad kind of scientific knowledge now. So in my head, when I was thinking about this, Dr. Frankenstein's monster, who we will just for simplicity, we're just going to call him Frankenstein. He took the place of Dr. Frankenstein. So he is now Frankenstein. But I think he will have brought together the crew, basically, with his promises of, like, maybe he promises to Dracula that he can work some way for him to be out in the sun, and the Invisible Man, he promises him some way to be able to turn on and off his invisibility or something like that, as long as they help him to take over the world or whatever. I think it would be a cool premise to start with.
Okay.
Is that contrary to any of your ideas?
No, that's fine. I think that's interesting and different, and I like it. Is Frankenstein like a hottie? Like, is it like one of those times where it's like, I was built from pieces, but also all the pieces are like sexy and like I'm hot as fuck. What's up?
They're sculpted.
This Halloween, hot Frankenstein.
Sexy Frankenstein.
Yeah, so, like I'm just because there's only like the Frankenstein that we're all familiar with the bolts in his neck and everything is just like one film version that got really popular because it's a really iconic look. But like, you know, when we first, like, when in the original story, it's just that, like, it's just a bit of gothic fiction where a character called Victor Frankenstein builds a person, and the point is that like they're a creature
playing God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, but the creature can talk. The creature even says, you know, I should be called Adam, as in reference to the first man, and stuff like that.
Ooh.
And everyone else calls it either Frankenstein or the monster in the stories.
Yeah, he could be a little sculpted. Like, maybe he was originally kind of messed up, but then Dr. Frankenstein himself maybe worked on him and kind of perfected him as, like, being able to do all the heavy lifting, but also have, like, fine motor function and be able to do whatever he needs. So he's probably going to be a relatively sculpted man. It's going to be a David.
Oh, I like that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can change things up a bit and make it so that Dr. Frankenstein maybe made as you said, maybe a more sculpted and beautiful body, but out of other bits. And maybe he put his brain in it or something because he needed a new body, something like that. Or, I don't know, he got his knowledge somehow. Or Dr. Frankenstein gave him lots of brains of very smart people and put them in there or something. I don't know. It makes sense in a magic world, but...
Yeah. I think that he also is probably made up of, like, the different races. He's not just a whole bunch of man. Like, he probably has, like, Goliath back muscles or something. Like,
yeah,
he's taken
like,
parts.
Hold on. We're making Cell. We're making Cell from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I was thinking that we're trying to make the perfect being.
You have transformed into the perfect being.
Like, yeah, we're not looking for the perfect organism. We're looking for a tragic monster, which is what Frankenstein's monster is. So I'm actually going to I've got an excerpt from the story here from Shelley's original story, Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein. So Frankenstein is described as being 8 foot tall, or almost 2.5 meters tall, which is pretty significant. And the description, and this is from the point of view of Dr. Victor Frankenstein. I'm not actually sure if he's a doctor in the original story. Anyway, his limbs were in proportion, and I had selected his features as beautiful. Beautiful, great God. His yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of pearly whiteness, but these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes, that seemed almost of the same colour as the dun white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion and straight black lips.
Ooh.
Cool. Wow.
Delicious.
So like the doctor made Frankenstein like to fuck. Like
Yeah.
like
Don't want to be crude here, guys, but can we just say
like
that?
like I mean, I don't know why we can't.
Yeah.
I like the only reason it's not fan fiction is because it's original. Like, you know, it's
Right.
But yeah, like, so Frankenstein is a big, sexy person who is sort of maybe disturbing up close because they're actually clearly not alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe they're a little bit like you can see up close the kind of the stitching or the like places where stuff came together as different body parts.
Yeah.
But, you know, as you say, from a distance, he is probably this like very beautiful thing. Although the black lips might give it away. Unless he's just wearing black lipstick.
If you look for the Frankenstein's monster article on Wikipedia, it actually has a steel engraving, which was used as the book as part of the book's cover when it was first released. And in that, like, Frankenstein is like a big cut dude. And so like you could have something like that where it's just like a big strong man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like this idea that maybe Frankenstein is like, so Frankenstein literally in the story is Victor Frankenstein makes a monster and is like, what have I done? And leaves. And the monster like just tries to fit in and can't because it's because of its monstrous nature.
Right.
So in that same vein, if we say that the point is Frankenstein is looking for purpose, and that's why they're in charge, because unlike everyone else in the crew, they don't know what they want. So they're just sort of, you know, seeking purpose, and they're, you know, they have some kind of plan maybe to restore their humanity or something.
Right.
And they're recruiting other rejects as their way to do that.
Okay. So they're kind of trying to do a kind of a lich thing, I guess. Right? A little bit. Like they have essentially been risen, but like they don't have this enormous power yet. But like they're trying to fit in, but maybe they just want to make everyone else subservient to them, and they're recruiting these guys to make that happen. Because vampires basically do that anyway, so going to Dracula would be a pretty solid starting point.
So what does Frankenstein do as a villain, basically? And what does the villain squad want? Are they just bad dudes? Because, you know, I'm not opposed to this being a retelling of the cult 80s movie Monster Squad, but, you know, that's fine if it is.
I've never seen it or heard of it.
Well,
Yeah,
Monster Squad, they were the good guys? Is that right? They worked alongside the heroes? No. Oh, that's
No.
right. Yeah.
Frankenstein did, but the rest of them didn't.
Okay.
Frankenstein changed sides because he met one of the character's little sisters,
Oh.
and I think she gave him like a piece of candy because it was Halloween or something.
Oh.
Okay.
And he was like, I have changed sides.
Wow.
I am now your friend.
Daniel, can you give us a quick synopsis of the motivations of the Monster Squad from the film Monster Squad for our people at home?
Yeah, sure. They want a amulet, I think.
Okay.
I think they want
Right.
an artifact for some reason. An amulet that is composed of concentrated good. One day out of every century, as the forces of good and evil reach a balance, the otherwise indestructible amulet becomes vulnerable to destruction. So basically, there's an amulet that if you can break, it'll kill all good.
Oh my.
So that's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
And Dracula is trying to do it. And so he can't do it on his own because last time he failed because of Van Helsing.
Oh, yeah.
Van Helsing.
Of course.
So now he's getting help. So he's hired, well, I don't know if he's hired them. I think it's more like sort of mutual interest. He's got the mummy, he's got the gill man, he's got the wolf man, he gets Frankenstein's monster, and then he just kind of hangs about, and the kids just sort of deal with it. I think it helps that they have Frankenstein because he's the strongest, but
Yeah.
look.
Okay. Cool.
So a kind of just a fall into chaos is what they're trying to create, basically.
I mean, if you wanted to put it in D&D terms, they're trying to destroy the Tome of Ultimate Good.
Oh, that's a thing.
Isn't that what it's called? Yeah.
Cool.
Forgot the name wrong?
So basically going to the material plane to cause it to fall into, or maybe collapse and collide and combine with the devils and the demons lair in the abyss and the nine hells or something, so that because they're not demons or devils.
The Castlevania side of it, where he's actually a little bit, he's a vampire, but he's also kind of like Satan as well.
Yeah, I mean, in Castlevania, Dracula's the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
So he's like just bad in a bunch of ways. Like he's friends with death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't really know why. Just shared interests, I suppose. Same reason you're friends with anyone.
Yeah.
You just run into each other a lot at work or whatever. Just proximity.
Yeah. Or you find out that he plays Smash as well. And
Yeah.
he comes over every Friday.
You both main Richter, and it's like, oh, cool. So
This is weird, but cool.
So yeah, so if we assume that Frankenstein's in charge, and Frankenstein or Dracula's in charge and wants to get rid of the amulet, or Frankenstein's in charge and wants to, I don't know, eat the amulet to make himself good or destroy it to represent that it's imperfect because the world's imperfect because he doesn't have a place in it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Maybe he's also out to destroy. Maybe they're kind of chaotic neutral, essentially, and they're out to destroy initially the good one, so that the world falls into chaos, and then they will eventually destroy the evil thing as well.
I think we should just make them monsters.
Okay.
Because you're gonna have to fight them at some stage.
Sure.
I mean, they could be complicated, but I think they should still be like, you should have irreconcilable differences with them. So I think it should be more like they're gonna destroy the world, or they're gonna eat the whole town, or they're literally just a bunch of dicks and they're a problem.
Yeah.
But if Frankenstein's monster is in charge, I think it should be about like I think if Dracula's in charge, it should totally be about like, you know, I want to bring Heck here or whatever because I love Heck.
Right.
But I think if we're doing Frankenstein's monster, it should probably be about.
I think Frankenstein is close enough.
Yeah, I think going with the Frankenstein's monster is cool because at least you can have that one villain in the villain squad who can be like, it's a little bit more complicated with me, compared to everyone else. Everyone else is just monsters, but with me, I have a little bit of a backstory to me, you know, and that's kind of cool. Just having one of them is cool.
So like, why don't we say that then we make Dracula the big bad again if we want Frankenstein to be sympathetic? Because it seems like making the main villain sympathetic means that like the players will think they're supposed to try and stop everyone. Whereas if the main villain's a monster but one of his lieutenants is sympathetic, it's maybe easier to be like, oh, that you know, we can get Frankenstein on side or whatever by giving him you know, a piece of candy, or a metaphorical piece of candy, or a real piece of candy.
Yeah.
So Dracula is a vampire.
Yes.
If you want to run Dracula in your game, he is literally the vampire from the Monster Manual. Literally everything the vampire does is what Dracula does.
Yep.
But Dracula is also a symbol of the nature of the noble classes and how they devour the people below them.
Ooh.
Yeah, did you not know that?
Nope.
So like he's literally a count.
Yeah.
So the idea is that like he represents the evils of like a nobility feeding on people, but also he represents Victorians' deep fear of sex, especially of like women being like unafraid of their sexuality, which was the sort of thing that Victorians were really uncomfortable with. So it has a lot of different notions, but if we stick with the simplest one, which is the sort of class conflict, I think making our Dracula a count again, or a vampire, and sort of going for that Castlevania thing where you're literally like walking up to a big castle and it's just full of pricks. If it does anything, just sits places and people are like, fucking Dracula, you prick.
Oh my god, it's Dracula.
Where's my goddamn money?
I don't know. I just love the fact. I just really like the idea that like, you know, you've just been around for hundreds of years. You're just bored all the time. So you're just like, what are you going to do today? It's like, nothing.
I'm a count. I don't want to become a king or anything. That's way too much responsibility. I'm just gonna sit in my castle.
I assume if I wait here, someone's gonna come deal with me. So
yeah.
Yeah. And it also gives a reason for why the dungeon might be like full of traps and stuff, because like I'm just bored. I just want people to come and try and fight me, I guess. That'll be a bit of fun.
Yeah.
I'll have the jewel encrusted spikes at the end of this pit.
Nice.
I wonder if like the Count has just like a couple different castles around the place. No, I'm making it too broad. Sorry. I'm thinking campaign size. We're going for like one shot or something. Like maybe his castle exists at all times, but nobody ever goes near it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Like that it's actually not a real space. It's like Dracula's ego has leaked into a whole plane, and so the whole place is fucking weird, which is very similar to like in some ways similar to Strahd and Ravenloft.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
But in Ravenloft, Strahd is being punished for being a baddie, whereas I'm just thinking more like classic Dracula, where Dracula is in charge.
Yeah, and
like it's just like I am King Prick of Shit Mountain, and this is my mountain, and like you can get in Halloween and no other time of the year.
Yeah. And he maybe like a few baddies come out in the town to like, you know, spread fear to the townspeople,
or kidnap people to eat them.
Exactly, that too.
They knock on people's doors and say trick or treat, and then people come to the door with candy, and then they just trick them all the time. They trip them up, and then the person opens the door, and they're opening the door to the inside of their own house, and they're suddenly outside, and they're like, we confused you slightly.
What the heck?
And they have a skeleton in the front door that goes like when you go near it.
Just does a little like bony dance.
This is so scary.
Yeah. A bit too scary.
Too scary.
Like
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
I forgot what I was saying. To spread fear to townspeople, just do that, or like kidnap them as well, Daniel, as you said. This is cool. I like this. Wolfman.
Wolfman.
So the Wolfman is going to be. So actually, I have an interesting thing about the Wolfman. So,
Okay.
I think you might know this, Mikey. I don't know if you do, Tim, but a friend of the podcast, Stephen Brady, told me something very interesting about wolves. Sort of a linguistic thing where you would talk about them as if they were wolves.
Okay.
It was almost a way of sort of making them like they're not people, they're not part of society because they take from us and they just kill people and they don't contribute basically.
They're just predatory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that sort of idea. So in that same vein of kind of like banditry, I think a good idea for Wolfman is that he's in charge of this group of raiders that go off to terrorize and kidnap people.
Cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I mean, makes sense as well because Wolfman will probably have good senses, be strong. If we assume that the Wolfman is a werewolf, is that an unreasonable assumption? Anyone?
No. That's good.
Great.
Fine by me. That passes.
I'm a bit scared now. I'm going to be honest with you
Okay.
guys. I feel like this Halloween episode's a bit too spooky for me now, so I might just call it a night and
Yeah, that's
head to bed real
yeah,
quick.
of course.
So he's a werewolf, but he turns into a really fluffy werewolf. That's really
that's great.
His fur is really soft.
Yes, werewolf sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. But is he the only werewolf? Like, is he another King Dick because he's the only guy who can turn into a wolf? Or, like, does he lead these bandits just because they're kind of brainwashed or kind of zombies?
Take off your jumper. Your mum knit you that. Sorry.
Like is Wolfman the powerful guy who can do the big thing, and his underlings are like zombie telepathically controlled guys who just are part of what he does? Or do you think that they are other werewolves?
I feel like he should have at least a few other werewolves on his team.
Like a pack.
On his, like a pack that he has, and he like picks his best people and the people who want to turn into werewolves, or just people that he turned werewolves himself, like against their will. But like they're his best men,
Top man. Yeah.
top men.
They were there for his wedding.
Yeah, because the pack survives. That kind of mentality of it, I guess. So
Okay.
So yeah, so Wolfman is like top werewolf.
Right.
Yeah.
But leads werewolves.
Top dog,
and werewolves
if you will.
exist. Hey. That's, maybe Wolfman is the first werewolf.
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of like a symbolic thing where like sort of like the Wendigo, where if you commit the crime of eating another person's flesh, you turn into this horrible creature. Like you become a wolfman or a werewolf by like you turn so far against your own people, like your own humanity. In other words, like
Yeah,
like
your
becoming a
nature.
bandit, but for years, and like you're unrepentant. Maybe you change and you become part wolf. You become part animal because you're no longer entirely human, or you're no longer entirely like folk, for lack of a better word, because obviously D&D worlds don't just have humans; they have dwarves and elves and all sorts of other interesting creatures.
Right.
yeah, rat people.
Cool.
But you kind of lose that part of yourself. Yeah, but you lose that part of yourself and become part animal, and then the combination makes you a monster.
Yes.
We could even say that this Wolfman was perhaps the first werewolf.
I believe that.
And, the reason they're still around is because the time acts strangely in Dracula's plane. So the Wolfman doesn't age normally or can never truly die as long as a single werewolf lives somewhere on the planet or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
The old big werewolf boy is a good idea, and having him be the first and having him do all of that jazz. The lichens, as they're called in Greek mythology.
Yeah, true, yeah. So what's our boss fight with the werewolf, with the Wolfman? Is the Wolfman the sort of first boss fight in this dungeon? You have to get through them to get through the gatehouse to get into to get into Dracula's castle.
Yeah, maybe you have to go through like a cursed forest to get to the gates of Dracula's castle.
Okay.
And in this cursed forest is this force of bandits and wolves, and you just go through the forest and you just hear howling. And you're like, ah, shit, and then you have to try and get through it. And maybe you just get ambushed, or maybe you ambush them, kind of like a stealth encounter or something.
Yeah.
Still.
Maybe when the castle arrives in past generations or whatever, when it arrived, the forest was much shorter, but maybe the shadow settles a little further and a little further each time, and people are becoming desperate now, so they really need people to challenge it. So the shadow falls over the town that your characters are from, or that one or two of your characters are from, and so now you guys are being raided, but you're challenged by this wolf pack, and they do their thing and they take all the people that you love, and then you have to go get them. I think.
Go get them.
Go get them.
You must get them now.
Do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Handsome reward.
Dan, did you have an idea for it? Did you have one in the back of your head?
I was thinking that, like, you know, in sort of a very Castlevania style, you'd reach the gates before fighting anyone.
Okay.
I don't think that, the gates might be locked and you fight outside them until you beat the Wolfman, and the Wolfman has the key to the big gates.
Yeah.
But I do like the Haunted Forest too, because if we're going to use a castle for everything else, then this is our one chance to get a wee spooky forest in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does the Wolfman do aside from fight like a vampire? Sorry, fight like a... My brain is fucking... I don't know where the hell it is.
It's a monster mash in there.
It got it.
Got it.
So the Wolfman, aside from being a werewolf, what else do we think the Wolfman does?
The old conversion thing. He turns people into werewolves. Maybe his howl summons wolf-like creatures from the earth to his aid. That would be kind of Castlevania-y. Like things just crawling up from the ground when you think you're only facing one guy.
Okay, cool. So we can summon backup.
Mm-hmm.
Wave after wave of my own man. Of my own wolf.
My own wolf.
Maybe he's got weapons as well.
Mm-hmm.
He might have a weapon. Maybe this top dog is actually a bit of an intelligent werewolf compared to his underlings. Maybe they're like the classic werewolves, sort of just kind of howling and stuff, and a bit like savage. But this guy is a little bit more intelligent because he's the first one.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, okay. Or at the very least, he's very cunning and strategic. Like, he's been a bandit for, we can assume, centuries, and like knows how to fight, knows how to use his men.
Yeah.
You know, knows what to expect people to do. Maybe has some kind of rule about like predicting enemy movements, and he knows that, like, oh well, this is the next thing they'll do, so if we do this, but sort of play in like the idea of like a pack mentality. So maybe, like, you know, if one of the players starts moving as a reaction, one of the Wolfman's bandits like goes to intercept because like he saw that move coming, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's cool.
I think the Wolfman has a big axe.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it.
I think the
it.
big axe I think I like that. So I was going to say, I think the big axe, if he kills you with the big axe, you always turn into a werewolf.
Okay.
If he cuts your head off, your head turns into a wolf. And that wolf, if it bites someone, turns them into a werewolf.
Okay. That's kind of
Ooh,
cool.
Interesting. That's an interesting kind of interpretation of it.
Yeah. And I think that the werewolves will have like a blood frenzy kind of thing. Like once one of them bites and tastes blood, it'll let out like a roar.
Oh yeah, like sort of a feeding frenzy with sharks. Yeah,
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Like they'll bite, and then within 5 feet of him, if there are any other, maybe we'll say 10 or 15 feet of him, they get like a reaction that they can take.
Yeah, and they instantly attack because they're all leaping in.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's good.
Maybe they can move 10 foot and attack.
Yeah, like they can move a bit and then
Or maybe you can make him a little bit like the Blood Hunter class as well, where he would use his blood for magical properties and a magical boost to attack as well. Because maybe his werewolf blood is like magical, and well, it is magical. It's powerful
Yeah.
and stuff, and it can kind of be used as like a catalyst for magic spells and stuff, like a component.
I like that. Yeah,
That might be cool for Dracula.
That can be used for Dracula as well. Yeah.
Like he uses other people's blood. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe the werewolf drains his own health to do the blood magic stuff, and then Dracula has like a more powerful version where he can just use anyone's blood.
or maybe they all have some version of it, and it's
Yeah.
a theme we use for all the villains. Because I like
Okay.
that idea a lot.
Consistency, yeah.
Yeah, we're onto something here.
So if we're going to say that the Wolfman is a werewolf, I like the idea that his blood is tied to like the moon, because obviously that's what werewolves are tied to, and maybe silver. So if he draws his own blood with a silver weapon, well, let's say his cool axe is silver, I like the idea that it's maybe called like the Cursed Moon Axe or something.
Okay.
yeah, that's cool.
Tasty.
So like if he draws his own blood with it, like, you know, it's maybe like pale and kind of milky, like it's like moonlight or like looking up at the moon, but it burns like acid, and it's called moonfire. So like, you know, he can apply it to his weapons. He can, if he's, you know, adjacent to an ally, he can apply it to their weapons by bleeding on them. Maybe he can even like with a wound, like, you know, kind of deliberately throw blood at you to like have it catch all over your body and burn you.
I'm just imagining him like on the lines, like he cuts himself and he starts getting woozy, and everyone's like, "You should stop doing that, man. It's great.
Use a
help.
pen.
Use a pen.
I got it. I've got this. Yeah, I've got this. I can keep going." And he just like collapses. You're-
Daniel, I'm so happy that we
Yeah, I know.
the same quote there.
Yeah, excellent. But like, yeah, I think, yeah, that was a funny joke. But that's really cool. Using his own blood, and he has a kind of basically unlimited supply, if not like just quite a bit.
Yeah, we can say it deals damage to him. I think that's absolutely fair. Like every time he does it, he takes D4 damage or whatever.
Okay.
Can't be resisted or reduced in any way because he has to deliberately bleed on things.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the regular bandits as well have like maybe a little bit of blood in them of like that, and maybe that just makes them stronger and like frenzy a bit when it's a full moon, but they're still humans and stuff,
Yeah.
And also I like the idea of finding him near Dracula's castle because maybe Dracula can make make the full moon always appear around there because he has that power to control his environment, and that's why you can probably make the guys a lot stronger and make them turn into werewolves whenever they want. That's kind of a cool flavor for it.
Yeah, that would be cool actually.
And what has Frankenstein got in this kind of blood thing? Does he like drain the werewolf when he's not fighting and use his blood in some experiments or something? Like he's taken on the role of doctor and now he's the mad scientist.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the exact same thing. I think Frankenstein's monster is also Frankenstein. I think they're one creature. It's not clear. We don't necessarily have to go into it in the context of a dungeon, but I think the idea is that Frankenstein's monster has now become like the alchemist, effectively, and is now creating...
Or like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing.
Yeah, actually could be. But in some way, they're like, the Frankenstein's monster is, an alchemist, a scientist, basically, in D&D terms. And they create flesh golems, which are not dissimilar to Frankenstein's. But I like the idea that because we're kind of representing the idea of like, Victor Frankenstein tried to make a man and made a monster, and now Frankenstein monster is trying to make more Frankenstein's monsters, and he's making worse monsters, so that like the flesh golems, because flesh golems in the monster manual, like they're golems, they're automata, they're not intelligent. They have no meaningful self-preservation, they just obey commands. And Frankenstein is desperately trying to create another creature like himself and can't. So all he cares about is like, bring me more bodies. Like, I need to make another me.
Dr. Frankenstein made a perfect but slightly gruesome and a little bit grotesque version of a human, but he's like perfect, and Frankenstein himself makes them just short of the mark. Like maybe he has a few prized ones that he's really, really proud of that are maybe just a bit dull and not quite all there, but they're like really, really close to being fully human, but they can't, like part of their interactions are like awkward or something, but he uses them as like his lieutenants or whatever. Like we're going to have tiers to all of them, because Frankenstein has his monsters that he basically like chimeras, where he's just kind of mashed together a bunch of bits and bobs, the like early experiments, and as he worked on them, he got some better, some bad results, and just through experimentation, he's just made a whole bunch of weird chimeras and then one or two big strong ones.
I like the idea of that. I also like the idea that like, Frankenstein, because one of the trends in the story is that Frankenstein is like emotionally aware and intelligent, but like is sort of hideous and rejected by everyone it meets. And there's actually a moment in the story where it sees its own reflection and realizes that it is also repulsed by its own appearance. And so I like the idea that in that same vein, it like always wears like a hood or a mask in its lab. So you've got this like huge 8-foot tall creature butchering animals and people alike, and maybe just constantly talking to itself, like as if there's another person there and arguing with itself, and like always draped in like this, maybe like this chain hood or like a veil of some kind, like blackened, and you can't see anything beyond like maybe two, as it describes, kind of two milky eyes that seem like quite dull and like almost not quite alive.
That's cool.
As for how it fights, I think we know it has loads of goons. It has literally like a near infinite supply of goons it's built. Maybe we have, like how I'd like to do is maybe have like baseline, it makes flesh golems, and then all its flesh golems roll on a D6 table and get a random thing. Like a fly speed, or they can shoot acid, or they get more AC, or they resist some kind of damage. Something like that just makes them a little unique. That represents the fact that they've all been built. And they all have strange features.
Okay.
Or do like a random table for put two animals together and make a chimera out of that, and then put that into the fight.
Like if you have specific ideas, go for those. But like at the random table can like dictate that. Like maybe it's an eagle and a lion, so it can fly and it has big scary claws and teeth.
And that comes out of the tank now, and then something else comes out another tank. It'd be very wet as well, I'd say.
Like in Pokemon?
Yeah, like Pokemon.
Like Pokemon.
Where you make the perfect version of the first movie with Mewtwo, where he makes the like clones of the Pokemon, and they just have like weird blotches on them, but they're way more powerful than the actual Pokemon.
I believe they were equally powerful, Tim, and that's the point of the fight, is that they all fight to a standstill and they realize that Pokemon fighting is immoral, and Ash goes to try and stop them and gets turned to stone.
He dies.
He dies
Ash
for
just
real.
died
Ash fucking dies.
in the first movie.
And then all the
Pikachu's
Pokemon
tears.
cry, and he gets to come back to life. Mm-hmm. And then I think, and then Mewtwo's like, I'm going to erase everyone's memories so that no one remembers that Pokemon fighting is bad.
Oh.
And Nintendo of America's like, thank you, because we need to make money. And that's the end of the story.
That's a wonderful story, Daniel.
It's a great story.
Excellent story. Go watch Pokemon the first movie. What were we talking about?
This is our Pokemon the Movie podcast.
We were talking about the Frankenstein encounter.
Yeah. Do you think that he's going to have an Igor, like someone else who is just part of normal society but was rejected, and maybe Frankenstein took pity on him and brought him in and asked him to help out with all the experiments, but is differently able? Like he's maybe very good at climbing, like he's like a little lightweight guy, kind of like an imp or something, and maybe he's part of the layer effect, like he knocks things off the shelves in the encounter and like throws weird potions that he's like collected that Frankenstein has given him as like, this is extremely dangerous and I don't necessarily need it, so like this is waste product from some of my experiments. If I need you to go get it, you can go get it, but if somebody attacks me, throw it at them, kind of thing.
Using like alchemist fire and like acid would be cool as like a lair action, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just like every initiative 20, Igor throws a potion or something, you know, into the fight, you know, kind of using as an extra thing that happens during the fight. That's very cool. I always like the idea of fighting in a laboratory and then just chucking potions at each other. It's just always been a fun little image in my head.
And there could be like darkness potions and blinding potions and fire potions and acid and all kinds of stuff. Make it a real chaotic situation. Maybe there's more than one Igor. Who knows?
Maybe you could do like a randomly generate thing like the Beholder, where
Oh yeah.
they have like different abilities and they have to randomly use them. Like each eye stalk has a different kind of power.
Like neither Igor nor Frankenstein know exactly what's in the bottles.
Yeah.
So they might accidentally throw one that like heals the party back to full health.
Yeah, that's actually cool though. That's fun. Like, oh, we're healed. Great.
Oh, nice. Thanks. Oh no, wrong section. He runs over to the alchemist fire.
Can you defeat Frankenstein if you throw a Phoenix down on him?
Only if you can find a Phoenix down.
In the D&D game, that's true. Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to
But
fight a
yes,
Phoenix
and
for that.
also, yeah, it's not clear whether a Phoenix down has to be thrown at someone or they drink it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, it's just Phoenix down is just the feathers of a phoenix.
that's true. Yes.
Like it's downy feathers.
But then if it's a down, shouldn't it be from when the start of a phoenix aren't down feathers from when a phoenix is first born, or when most animals are first born?
I don't think so. I'm not super sure
okay.
about that. So it could be that, like maybe when they're first born, like as you say, you just gotta pluck a couple feathers and then you have some Phoenix down. You
Come here to me,
wrestle
Phoenix.
it like a chicken.
Cool. Frankenstein. That cool idea is there. What about the mummy, guys? The mummy man. First of all, I like the idea of, if we're going with the castle, Frankenstein castle, maybe he has like almost, because it doesn't make sense, and it's kind of like a weird demi-plane, maybe he has like a room that, you know, the adventurers open up this room and it's just like a desert and there's a pyramid there.
Ooh.
And then maybe you have to like go through the castle and defeat each of the main baddies to get to the, you know, if we're gonna make this video gaming, defeat all the baddies, get their pieces of the amulet or key that unlocks the boss room, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe like one of them, the mummy has it, and the mummy hangs out in his lair, and his lair it's either in the desert in a pyramid, and you can only get there through this magical portal, or it actually is a room, and it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like bigger on the inside. There's
Yeah,
an
you know.
entire desert in this room.
Yeah. And you could do that with the werewolves as well, like make that room a forest, or
Oh yeah.
or like, you know, make the forest beforehand, as we said.
That's true.
You can do stuff like that.
But like to combine the two ideas, like, you know, I kind of said the gatehouse. The idea you open the gatehouse and then you are in a forest,
Yeah.
and it's like, wait, what?
Wait, hold on.
What?
It's just like I think that'll be scary. Just making this place really not make sense at all. Like that can kind of freak out your players. But yeah, if you're gonna do the mummy, you gotta put him in a pyramid. You know, I think that's.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think mostly you encounter mummies on the inside of pyramids though. So I think you could skip the desert part
Yeah.
and just have like the interior of the dungeon change to reflect the fact that you're in like the mummies part.
Maybe there's sand coming through the ceiling.
Yeah,
And you're like, that
exactly,
makes no
yeah.
sense. But
Or it's like
Yeah.
like in Alien versus Predator, there's just this giant ziggurat underneath the ice. Like you open the door and yeah, it's a desert all around, but the pyramid is just right there, like right in front of the door. So you get the sandy experience and you get to see the grandness of this pyramid, just as like a DM's description kind of thing, so people know what's going on.
did Tim just reference Alien versus Predator?
I sure did.
My
I
man.
love that movie.
My man.
Yeah,
It's
he
a great film.
did. Did
very
you say it was a great film?
Yeah, it's underrated, all right?
Yeah, I love it.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's terrible, but I actually quite enjoyed it a lot. So
Like all I remember about it is that like it's really hard to watch. Like
Yeah, I love it.
I just remember like watching it and being like, it's really dark and the camera keeps like cutting and like it was honestly like hard to just tell what was happening.
Yeah,
That's all I remember about it.
yeah, that's fine. But good film.
yeah.
I quite enjoyed it.
I'll have to take your word for it.
But yeah, something along those lines where the pyramid is there and it's very easy to access, but like flavorfully, this door opens to like an entire area where you could probably just explore an entire desert and eventually just realize you were somewhere in the actual world. But yeah, just being able to open this door, which is actually a portal to this specific pyramid where the Dracula has hidden a piece of his bedroom door key within the mummy or something. Like he like teleported in, put it into the mummy's like heart or something, and then just zapped out of there again, and now you have to face a mummy that has no idea what you're here for.
Yeah. And if it's a pyramid, then, classically pyramids have like traps to keep people out. So now it's a good time to put some traps in there, to like, because I think hopefully if your players are in a pyramid, they're like, let's keep our eye out for traps because this is kind of what happens in this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
snake pits, giant swinging axes,
quicksand,
quicksand, classic.
a big boulder. An Indiana Jones boulder
yeah.
would be very fun,
Nice,
I think.
Nice. Closing doors like in Alien versus Predator.
And more.
And the rest.
Yeah.
A big wave of sand with the Rock's face in it, and he goes, "Brah."
Scorpion King. Just put the
Scorpion
Scorpion King in there.
Scorpion King's great.
But no, it wasn't the Rock's face. It was
It was the other guy.
the Mummy's face. It was
Yeah,
Billy
yeah.
Zane.
Man, I do not know.
Marlon Brando.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't the Mummy. in Brendan Fraser's The Mummy.
Yeah. I don't remember who it was. But yeah, that's some cool ideas. But what about interior? Is it just going to be like lots of scorpions and bugs? Like this place isn't probably going to be touched by Dracula so much. So it's going to be like an Egyptian themed dungeon crawl romp kind of thing, which I think could be fun, relatively independent, if a little detached from everything else that you've been doing.
Yeah, it could be.
That's fine, man.
Could just be weird. I almost like the idea that the mummy is almost like a wandering enemy in the castle, perhaps.
Okay.
Like if we kind of double down on that idea that like it's weird that a mummy's in there. If the mummy is like just like a fucking sand whirlwind that just encompasses you as you travel the dungeon, and if the whirlwind gets you, you go to the fucking desert demiplane, and it's like, where am I? And you're like, you don't know, you're just in a desert now, and like the only way out is through the actual pyramid. Like it just swallows you whole, and you're like, what's happening?
Maybe it's just a treasure room in the dungeon. Just like an extra room where you can solve the riddles and go through the traps. And if you do, then there's probably treasure in there because that's the Pharaoh's treasure or something.
Okay. You get a nice hat.
You get a very nice hat. No, you get like magic weapons. Maybe something that can help defeat Dracula himself. Drac.
Old Drac.
The big Drac man.
Drac's back.
With a brand new track.
Oh no.
Yeah, I actually quite like your idea, Dan, of that wandering like sandstorm,
Yeah.
Darude teleportation thing going on. So,
Oh, my body isn't ready for such jokes.
that's fine.
Such jokes.
Such jokes. Kaiba.
Kaiba. Yeah, and that's Egyptian. Maybe it's Yu-Gi-Oh. Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh's in there.
You have to play Duel Monsters, and you're never allowed to leave.
Yeah. It's a
This is
shadow.
a
And yes,
shadow
it is a
game,
shadow.
yeah.
It
And
is a shadow game.
obviously, it's a fucking shadow game. Don't be so stupid.
Whoever dies does get sent to the shadow realm. It's just obvious.
Yeah, which is another demiplane. You're 3 demiplanes down now.
Yeah.
God.
And
many.
whoever reaches the demiplane after being beaten in a shadow game faces the Invisible Man, who's just an invisible guy who punches you or slaps you every once in a while.
Ow!
Yeah.
My face.
The Invisible Man is a layer action that happens the entire time you are trying to find Dracula, and the DM will roll a d20 and then say, you feel a slap across your face to one of the characters. And you're like, what the hell?
That's so scary. That's scary.
Tricksy. Frightening.
Is there anything to be said about the mummy? Anything about the encounter itself?
Well, the mummies in Dungeons and Dragons are intelligent creatures that can speak and reason with things. So we can say that the fight doesn't have to just be, a creature with its arms out, covered in bandages, chasing you down a hallway.
Yeah,
Scooby-Doo kind of style.
Although there is an argument that can be fun.
that would be fun.
A bit of Scooby-Doo energy. But if we're not doing that, so if I recall correctly, mummies are spellcasters. They can turn into dust. So I think what we get them to do is, other than that, I think the obvious thing we have to go back to, actually, hang on, we didn't do this with Frankenstein. Oh my God, we failed. Is the mummy needs blood powers. So, I mean, I think the obvious thing is that, the mummy's blood inflicts the mummy's curse.
Okay.
Which is like the rotting curse that turns you into dust.
Yeah.
If you don't do something about it. Like, I don't know, get a 3rd level paladin to fix you or whatever. But seriously, if you don't do that, you're doomed.
So doomed.
You're fucked.
I'm serious, man. 2nd level spells.
Yeah.
You better have them.
Maybe he has a legion, because we're like pharaohs buried with people as well.
Shabbaties and people, yeah. Shabbaties were like little clay people that represented their servants in life.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the terracotta army.
Yeah, similar thing.
Maybe they have that, or maybe this pharaoh just wanted all of his slaves to be buried with him, and there's like zombies in there, or like smaller mummies. Because I assume the mummy that we're fighting is a mummy lord, is the main baddie. If we're going to go with the stat block, and just mummies are going to be the slaves that are in there, or not even mummies, because I don't think you would mummify slaves. You just kind of throw them in there.
Yeah,
man.
Mummification. That's big business. That's you're doing a whole lot with that one.
That's
a
fancy
whole
pants, yeah.
There's a whole thing I went to. I remember learning about it in school, and it was they did this and this and this. Oh Jesus, that's a whole lot of stuff.
Don't waste your time on those slaves.
So maybe just zombies. Maybe they're just or skeletons or something like that.
Yeah.
That they pop up and they're just goons. Because it seems like these guys all have their own goons that they can pick from and throw at you.
And for the mummy to have one makes sense. Like maybe as you're walking through the halls of where the mummy might be able to catch you, there's just kind of skeletons everywhere, and it just raises them within a certain distance, I'd say. Risen skeletons.
Scary stuff. Rise. I see. Yeah. So I think that blood of the mummy is like the blood of the sands turns you into mummies. Frankenstein, I think, has black blood that drains the life from you as it hits you. I don't know what else it might do. I think Dracula. I think Frankenstein's blood just deals necrotic damage.
Okay.
And kills you good because it's like undead blood.
Yeah.
And pulls things from you. But I think that's it. And then there's the Invisible Man.
I like my idea.
That he just slaps you in the face.
Yeah, he doesn't. Dracula doesn't even know he's there. He's invisible to all senses, except touch when he decides to.
How does a D&D fight with an invisible person go, really?
You have to use fairy fire, I guess, and then chop him up when you can see him. Because there's a lot in D&D already that makes you either invisible or counteracts invisibility. So if you were to make his invisibility super special, it makes it very quickly overpowered, I think. And there's nothing you can do about him.
Or grease? Can you throw grease on him?
Just make him slip all over the place.
The spell grease, if you throw that on a person and they're invisible, then you can see him.
Yeah, I think
Would
so.
that work?
That would
Am I
make sense.
crazy?
You have to be able to see them to hit them with the spell, though. So
That's true. It'll be disadvantage on that. So
maybe the mummy is the Invisible Man, and when you think you've defeated the mummy, he's actually just run away and left all of his wrappings behind. Didn't think about that, did you?
then who was phone?
Wow. No, okay. The Invisible Man. What can we do with him? He's part of the squad.
Invisible Man's really good at surprising people because he's invisible.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Isn't he like a detective or something in the Invisible Man? Yeah, all I can remember, I haven't seen the Invisible Man the movie, but the images I have of him are him wrapping his head in like cloth, and he wears like a trilby or like a fedora or something, and he wears the coat. He looks like a noir detective, and he wears like glasses. So like I have no idea what the actual story is, but as far as I know, he's trying to like either find out why he's invisible or something. I don't know. I really can't think of much for the Invisible Man other than him just being a bother.
So he's basically a figure who, the short version is, he's a scientist who inadvertently makes himself invisible and can't turn himself back, and then goes ahead and does a bunch of crimes.
Oh.
We already got that kind of stuff with Frankenstein, though. We have the scientist that, or like the kind of scientist vibe of side of him, you know?
Maybe the Invisible Man is original Dr. Frankenstein, and he helps you out throughout the castle because he's been wandering around through the castle unsensed by everything. Like the mummy doesn't see him, but he can speak to you and be like, hey, don't freak out. I know how to beat everyone, but I'm not able to myself, and I'm cursed to be in this place just like everyone else that's in here. Maybe
Actually that could be an interesting reversal if he's sort of a slightly perhaps unreliable ally because they're trapped in there, but also like they could leave maybe whenever they want.
Yeah.
Vincent Price, here's a fun fact. Vincent Price actually played the Invisible Man in one of its movies, The Invisible Man Returns.
Okay.
We should have asked him about it before he left.
We should have. God,
He's gone.
way
he's gone.
I think
He's flown home back to his grave as far as I know.
I was thinking I could call him, but he left his phone here, so I presume he just buys a new phone anytime he has a job. What an incredible man.
Yeah. We might maybe his like mum's number is on it. We could give her a ring and like say, like your son Vincent has left his phone here.
I don't know his passcode.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Try them all, man.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
0000.
I'm guessing it's 666 because he did do the opening to Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
That is true.
Maybe he's also like a spy for the baddies, but I much prefer having Dracula just be able to see whatever's going on in his lair, in his castle, instead of having an invisible dude be like a guy who goes back to him and says, "My lord, the heroes are doing this."
Yeah.
I much prefer like Dracula just being able to control everything in his castle. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot cooler to me. Making him ally might be a cool idea, as you said. But I don't really know what to do with him. I'm going to be honest, guys. He's the 4 guys I liked, and then this guy, I'm just like, I got nothing.
All right, he's fired. He's out of the team.
Cut this entire
You're
section
off the
out,
team.
Tim.
No, Tim. It's a good thought experiment.
Okay.
Could we do something with the Invisible Man? No, we can't.
No, he's
fired. It's
useless.
fine.
All our ideas are terrible.
Is there anyone we missed? Do we want to do anything about the what's his face?
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Ooh, that's great. That'll be a good encounter. A nice
Water Boss.
a water boss.
3D underwater combat.
Get ready for your water encounter, heroes. I hope none of you are wearing heavy armor.
No.
Oops.
Da-da-da-da.
Make sure you bring your pikes or your tridents or your stabbing weapons. Knives and stabbing
Knives
weapons.
and stabbing weapons. There it is.
So the creature of the Black Lagoon.
He's this like proto-human who was like existed. He's like prehistoric or something, and he's just hung around, and now he just isn't human and is just crazy.
Yeah.
That's his origin, as far as I know.
That's cool. Maybe actually going with like an old one kind of
Vibe.
Oh yeah,
H.P.
that's
Lovecraft
true, yeah.
kind of angle to it, or as I was going to say before that, but we can talk about the first idea as well. Maybe Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, or the Frankenstein monster doctor made him.
Dr. Frankenstein or the Frankenstein monster doctor. That's a great sentence.
Yeah. Whatever he is now, whatever we kind of went with him, because he's Frankenstein's monster, but he's also a doctor as well now. Whatever.
He's the mockster.
Yeah, you can either go with those, having like an eldritch horror, or just another one of the fucking goons. But I like the idea of doing like the eldritch horror too, because it just adds another piece of horror, another horror staple to the team. You know,
Like, I don't think he was particularly terrifying in the movies because, you know, back in the day they didn't have much that they could do with it. But like,
he's just a dude.
Yeah.
A dude in a costume. It's great.
They're both just dudes in costumes, man.
yeah. But like, I think giving him the kind of Cthulhu kind of powers, maybe he has like force tentacles, or like he causes like confusion, and like his lair is one of those ones where you have to go the correct route, or you get lost for eternity kind of thing. Or in D&D, to make it less difficult than that, you're like spat out back at the start, like in a Legend of Zelda maze kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And then other kind of twisty turny things like that to make it kind of interesting. Like maybe you have to describe eldritch horrors that your party cannot comprehend while they're looking at it, and maybe describe to each of them what they see, and like no one like sees the same thing, and it's all just chaos crazy in there. And then you face the creature from the Black Lagoon, and he tries to eat you. He tries to nom you.
Yeah, you gotta do the part where your guys are on the boat and then he just pops up and grabs one of you and then goons you.
So he's
because that's just an iconic moment, really.
he's part Jason Voorhees and part creature from the Black Lagoon.
Dude, spoilers for the first
Friday the
Friday the 13th movie.
I didn't say it happened at the end of the Friday the 13th.
I didn't say it happened at the very end of the first movie where he pops up and grabs you.
Yeah. I think everyone who has any interest in watching any horror movie has seen that scene.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think, because he is just a humanoid creature. Because like I read a little bit into some of this stuff before we got here, and he is supposedly this like pre-human, prehistoric creature that's just been locked away in a cave.
Yeah.
That is unleashed somehow on the world, and like it was horrifying because it was inhuman basically, and it just attacked people and killed them and ate them, I think.
Yes.
But trying to fix that into a kind of a more interesting kind of old onesie kind of Lovecrafty horror.
Well, the creature from the Black Lagoon in the movies is actually it's not dissimilar from there's a movie I'm thinking of, but I can't remember it because my brain is bad today. Like basically it's a creature that just lives somewhere in the wild. Like as you say, it's maybe like a proto-human creature, and it just shows up, and basically humans attack it first, and it fights back to defend itself. It's kind of like Jurassic Park, but without the park part.
It's kind of like Godzilla, one of the first ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's just like a creature, like it's just a curiosity that like winds up having
Too much power.
well, not necessarily too much power, but like winds up in conflict with humans because they can't respect it as a creature, and so every time they try to do something with it, it fucking gets pissed off. So like they like find it and then accidentally attack it, and then they find it again and they like trap it in an aquarium so that they can study it, and it's like, oh, I don't want to live here. This is a shit house.
So it's kind of like a proto Godzilla, but also like a proto water. What was that movie that came out? The Sound of Water, or
The Shape of Water. Yeah,
Shape of Water. Yeah. The hills are alive with the sound of water.
And it's also
Blub, blub, blub.
it's so yeah. So in terms of what it can do, it's a big human person with clawed, webbed hands. It's apparently able to withstand gunshots. It gets set on fire at one stage and survives, which is nice.
What?
No, that's impossible.
So immune to fire or resistant to fire, maybe,
can
and
say?
immune to gunshots. Put that on your.
Not archery.
Put that on your character sheet. It's also very strong, which you can tell because if you look at the posters, it's like lifting the person up over his head, like. Moo.
Jace.
Also, the guy who played the creature, his name is Raquel Browning. He's a handsome man.
Really?
I'm just saying, yeah, just a handsome fella.
Very nice. Good for him.
Excellent. Yeah.
Is he still alive?
He is.
Ah,
Mr. Browning, if you're listening, the picture of you in the suit it's very fetching. You've got a lovely smile.
oh,
Yeah.
that's very
And he
nice.
played a very iconic monster.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So cool. So how's the encounter going? How's the encounter with this thing going to go down? How's it going to run? Because it sounds like it's going to be a water-based encounter. It's going to be
Obviously.
either above the water when you're on a boat, or you're hopping between platforms or something, or you're dragged underneath and you have to fight this guy while he's in the water.
For the sake of simplicity, I'd say it's like waist deep water, but he can travel 100 feet around.
Yeah.
So that like he can just zip around under the water, and while he's underwater, he doesn't take any opportunity attacks, but he has to jump out to actually attack you.
Yeah, it's difficult terrain for you guys as well because you're kind of like trudging through it in like most likely armor as well.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably like potholes, like there's holes in the bottom that you might fall into that he can like traverse as part of like a tunnel system or something. But maybe there's only like
Okay.
3 or 4, because if you litter the place with them, then you're going to lose a lot of people that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I was also going to say that you could literally just have like a trapdoor moment where like they think they've beaten all the bosses and they're like, all right, Dracula, you big pile of shit, we're going to kick your ass. And he goes, no, thank you. And he pulls like a big lever and you all fall down a funnel and drop in water. And you're like, what's happening, man? And then,
Oh no.
and then Gilman comes out. It's like, what's up?
Gilman, you just kind of describe that you're in the water and you just see like a whoosh, 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 like around you. And then you're like, blub, 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 no. And then he attacks you. And then you beat him up because you guys are adventurers and it's only one monster
obviously.
versus a team
Yeah,
of
and
adventurers.
he's fucked.
Yeah, he's absolutely fucked.
I do like the idea that like, did either of you guys see Aquaman, the movie, when it came out recently?
No.
I didn't
All
see
right.
it.
It's all right, actually.
Wet Willy.
What?
I did hear good things.
Wet Willy. I'm sorry.
What was I going to say? Yeah, sorry. So there's a scene in that movie where the main character and his friend, who is also a water person, they have to go into the water to get a map or something. I can't remember. But anyway, there's like a scene where they're diving into the water to get this, piece of whatever they need, and they're being attacked by these like evil fish creatures that like hate the light but like are very numerous. And so they're like, it's actually this really cool like almost horror set piece in this action movie. It's actually a pretty good movie. I'd honestly say watch it for the visuals alone.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
And it's good
Yeah, I heard
fun.
good things about it,
There's lots of color, and it's almost like an Indiana Jones movie with superheroes.
Okay.
If you want like a quick version of it, in the same way that like a lot of the best superhero movies are another kind of movie with superheroes.
Yeah.
Aquaman
that's
is
true.
like Indiana Jones, real classic like pulp adventure, globe trotting, trying to find the pieces of the puzzle so you can stop the Nazis. But the main character is like able to like punch holes in, I don't know, people. It's like, but anyway, and there's this fantastic scene where they're diving under the water and they've got like this one flare. And the creatures don't want to get close to the flare, but they're surrounding them. They're around them on all sides, and like the red light of the flare is just kind of catching the edges of their faces as they grow closer, and then retreat again. And I kind of like the idea of, in that same kind of old one vibe, that maybe we have this be a battle of like water and light, where you're just dropped deep in the water and it's completely dark, and the only light sources are the ones you can produce. And as you produce light, you attract the monsters in the deep, but also you repel them because they don't want to be in the light. But with the light, they can see where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe there's like you can kind of have a little clue for it where there's like bodies underneath, and then one of them's like the body of an adventurer who had like a necklace that's of light, and you can just see, oh, they're staying away from this light source, and then maybe like the light will work, and then you take out your sun rod or sword of light or whatever you have.
And I like the idea that like, maybe to make it kind of old one-y, we have like, you fight the gill man and you fight like the tentacles of a kraken, but you don't fight the whole kraken. It's just some creature so deep below the depths that you can't see it, but its tentacles are attacking you as well.
Yeah.
It's reaching in, and then you stab it, and it's like, what the hell was that?
Yeah,
so it just,
the same way
all
that,
of its
if you
tentacles
reached under if you reached under your bed and an ant bit you, you'd be like, what the fuck's happening down there?
Yeah.
But the same vein of like, you're not able to, like, the best you can do is get this thing to stop being interested in you, but you can't meaningfully hurt it, right? Like, you basically just tell them, like, you deal damage, like, yeah, okay, great. Like, the damage doesn't matter. What matters is you hit them, because hitting them is what scares them off. But, like, you're fighting a creature so large that, like, the notion of you dealing damage to it is alien, like, doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can't actually hurt this thing, you can just sort of tell it to fuck off, basically.
This is just Dracula's aquarium, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Into the shark tank.
Yeah, he just has all these weird monsters under here.
Yeah, like Dracula has an old one living in his basement because, like, the old one needed somewhere.
He's so ancient.
Because the old one needed somewhere to hang out, and he was mates with Dracula.
Yeah, because everyone's just mates with Dracula.
I do like the idea that Dracula is almost an old one, but is sort of like just clung to his humanity. That's actually kind of an interesting notion, even on its own. Like that, like he could be a cosmic horror, but he prefers being human. Like prefers to be a creature,
Like bound to the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that is another adventure.
Yeah, he's just been struggling with that idea, like since he became the tippy top of what he wanted, and now he's just bored, and he's like, should I become an old one? And he just ponders it for centuries.
Oh yeah, it's not like he's got a shortage of time.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this in the future, you can listen to our episode on vampires that should be out around 2035.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's an estimate.
It's an estimate. So I think that's how we incorporate the Gill Man. I think he's our water boss. I think as an alternative, there's a moat surrounding Dracula's keep that separates it from the rest of the castle, and you can cross the moat however you like, but it's very long, and the best way to do it's probably a boat. And regardless of whether or not you use the boat, the Gill Man attacks you.
Yeah.
You know, your best bet is probably taking the boat because the boat lets you protect yourself. But if you've decided to swim or whatever, you're probably fucked. Like, because this thing is a water creature, and you've decided,
Yeah.
we can take this. It's fine.
You're fighting it in its own environment. What do you do?
And if they can fly over or whatever, that's fine. The Gill Man can still probably, throw stuff at them or shoot javelins or just summon the tentacles of the old one to swat you out of the air or whatever.
Yeah, and if you're in an airplane, like one of those little biplanes, then the face of the mummy eats you.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. Everything gets you.
Everything.
No escape.
No escape.
No surrender.
Cool. I think this is an episode. This is a
I think so.
feature length episode right now, I think.
Feature length. Your presentation.
Shall we leave it out there, or do we have any final comments on just rounding up on this squad of monsters?
The Gill Man's blood should make it so you can't breathe in air. You can only breathe in water if you get cursed by it.
Oh, like Aboleth's lung.
Yeah, exactly.
Aboleth episode when we talked about that. Excellent. Very cool idea.
Very cool.
All right. Let's finish it up there then.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for listening to the Villain Squad, Monster Squad edition. This is super fun. It was cool. Use them for your spooky adventures. If you plan to do it this Halloween, which is already passed, or get your next Halloween campaign ready and set up so you can pitch it to your friends and say, "Hey guys, I got a spooky adventure for this year. The Creature Club guys gave me it." And
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
like, "Whoa!"
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. It's three of us are together, and hopefully we can get another episode with the three of us at some point in the future. I hope that happens. I hope this is a regular thing again. We are going to continue doing more stuff like this because we have been doing demons and devils for so long, and we want to just take a small breather from fiends
monsters.
and just monsters in general.
Because we're going to have to do dragons next, and that's another big section, and it's just like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
it's just a whole...
It's just
whole
it's
thing.
just a lot. It's just a lot, man.
It is, yeah. So if you want to see something in specific, let us know. Please let us know. And we shall, we might just do it. If you want to see more Villain Squad, let us know. Any more Treasure Trove, let us know. Any more thingamajig, what's the other one? Cunning Action with Daniel.
Or maybe something new. You never know.
Something
we
completely
might
new.
be able to come up with something totally different.
Maybe a homebrew episode will come up again soon. We will see if we can put something like that together. We have enough monsters. And speaking of which, if you have monsters to send on to us, please, we are always looking for them. You can go onto our website, creatureclubpodcast.com, and go to the Contact Us section, and you can send us there, or you can send to our email directly at creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Creature Club
Yep,
Podcast.
Yeah,
nailed it.
creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. And you can listen to that. If you guys are looking for more content from us, then our very own Tim Porter is doing something now. Tim, tell us.
Yeah, I've started streaming on Twitch. I play Rocksmith, which is a video game where you plug your guitar into your computer and play through various songs. I have a nice little library of stuff. So if you feel like joining me at some point, you can. I'll put my social stuff in the description of this video so that we have. So if you feel like it, you can do that. I don't know. It feels weird.
You should
plugging
go on
that
the
here.
stream and then ask Tim complicated D&D questions as he plays like
Oh,
music
hell
at a
yeah.
professional level, because it'll be like trying to rub your belly and pat your head at the same time, but like times 3.
Yeah, I have a hard enough time talking about what I'm doing while I'm doing it.
Make
Yeah,
it even
we always-
harder.
But
We always say the easiest way to get to us is through our Twitter at Creature Club Pod, or if you just look at Creature Club Podcast, you'll see it. That's the easiest way to contact us because we're all there. But to be honest, if Tim's online on a stream, just ask him a question about Creature
Yeah,
Club,
there
and
you
I'm
go.
sure he will just answer it as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And
right
you'll get
there.
a live, and you'll get to see me talking out loud instead of this faceless podcast that you have.
It's
to
true.
deal
You can
with.
look at Tim's handsome face. His cats show up sometimes.
Aw.
It's great.
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
And myself and Daniel are also in the chat every once in a while. So
Yeah,
you
we
might-
are
you
just
might
yelling.
spot us, just yelling at him.
Just
telling
going,
him to
oh,
play,
belter. Stuff like that. Like it's
Yeah.
fucking dad in the crowd.
yeah, telling him to play Foo Fighters and stuff. Yeah. So join Tim on that. That's very cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else is, their usual. Subscribe on any podcast format if you haven't already. And join us for the next episode of something.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And also,
precisely.
happy
Oh, God.
Halloween.
Oh.
Ooh, spoopy. It's spoop season.
It's over now.
Although in Irish, the month of November is called Samhain, which is what we call Halloween in Irish.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
There you go. It's Halloween all of November.
I have been Mikey.
I have been Tim.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool.
Stay spooked, more like.
That's what it was.